Hi, KaDee Strickland from Private Practice on FrConventions. I was thrilled. It was interesting because when I met her, it was originally, I didn't know what show. I knew that Kate Walsh was going to be spinning off of Grey's Anatomy, but I didn't know if it was Grey's or if it was this new thing. So I came in, I met Shonda, Betsy Beers, the other producers, and we just had a chat, and it was really lovely. And then she called me and said, I want you to come, it's going to be fun. And I said, okay, who's the character and how do you want me to sound? Because I'm from the South. And she said, I like it, everybody in LA is a transplant, let's keep it. And I was like, okay. And there was a time when the character was named Lottie, but then she became Charlotte. I remember a lot from those days because when something happens that changes your life the way that show did, you kind of, and I'm the kind of person that really likes to hold memories. But I remember it's funny, I recently thought I'd watched the first episode and I couldn't believe. I remember we were not yet on a proper stage. We shot in an actual hospital that was in a certain part of Los Angeles that I don't frequent, so I was just worried I was going to get lost. And when I watched the show now, I remember meeting Taye Diggs for the first time and shooting all those scenes. And my mother's a professional nurse, and well, she was when I was growing up, so I just really tried to impersonate her in the beginning so she would be proud. No, it's funny, that first phone call with Shonda, she said, we're gonna have fun, it's gonna be sexy, it's gonna be kind of crazy. But the evolution, I think, really came as Shonda got to know each of us. Like, it's funny, the relationship between Charlotte and Cooper. I remember her talking about it. We'd had a group scene, I can't remember whose office it was in, but it was one of the first scenes I was in where I came and I sat down and it was Kate, and I feel like Tim Daly might have been there, and Paul. And something in that scene made her curious about what it would be like to put me with Paul, just like that. So she, as I think the fans know, was very good at chemistry and making things interesting between the characters. But I had no idea that Paul and I were going to have the kind of chemistry we did on screen. And he's like family to me now. I mean, I just saw him the other day. So it's funny, you know, it's an unexpected relationship with a writer when they just kind of get to know you and trust you. And what Shonda allowed me to do was remarkable as an actor. I mean, it's still one of my all-time favorite roles. Oh, I loved that no matter what we did, we always had a good time. And I think even throughout the struggles, the relationship deepened over time, which is the beauty of showing a long-term relationship on television. I think in life that happens. Struggles come and go, and I think it's really amazing when you give characters that type of journey and growth together, you know, but they were funny. I mean, they were really hilarious with each other. And we just did a show that will be coming out on June 5th in the States, I'm not sure when it releases here, called Cruel Summer. And Paul and I and Griffin, who played Mason, are together again on that show. And now Mason is of legal age to drink in the States, which is quite strange to go and have a drink with this man. He's a man now. We had such a good laugh about that, but he's like my kid still. We had deep trust, and we still do. I mean, when we did this last job together, we sat around talking a lot about just how inherent that was and how we miss working with each other, because we do have a real respect for one another's process, and everything's safe. Any scene that we had that was intimate, he always made sure that I was comfortable, and that was before intimacy coordinators. So we had each other's backs. We never did anything we weren't comfortable with, but emotionally we were always comfortable and safe, and would give each other holy hell when we needed to, and then have a good laugh about it. Well, I love working with Caterina. I was so happy when they made her a permanent cast member, because she and I immediately clicked, just as people. And again, like Paul, I think these two relationships are talked about the most because we are very safe with each other, and it's wonderful to be at this convention with her. It's really nice. It's just inherently there between us, respect and safety. I think as actors, you want to talk about vulnerability, and that whole storyline of former addiction was not one I knew until it happened. So it evolved, I think, because Shonda liked what Caterina and I represented with each other, around each other. So that was really fun. I mean, as personal information, she's the reason I gave birth to my son at home, because she'd had that experience and shared that experience, and I was like, well, that sounds right to me. And I was fortunate enough to do it, so she was a good mentor in real life for that. But I remember the scene where she spirals out in her addiction, and I just remember she was like a house on fire. I mean, she just came in and it was just so intense. And I remember I had to put my hand on her. She pulled away at one point, and I was like, whew. So that kind of stuff was really fun, because she's such a sweetheart of a human being, and to watch her tap into something so intense was great. And just very loving. I mean, she was very loving with me, and we are in life, so it's great. Did a lot of research, went to Al-Anon meetings, AA meetings, and just spoke to people that I knew personally that struggled with addiction, and then got very specific because of the pill addiction aspect. Pain medication's very big in the States. People get put on this medication and have a very difficult time coming off of it. So I just always did my research, and I was lucky. They gave us great access to people who were willing to share. Very important, I trusted Shonda. She was very respectful of me and said, I want to do this thing with your character, and I want to make sure you're comfortable with it. She told me, I want to do assault in the workplace. I think it's perfect to do with your character because of what she represents. I think it's going to be very meaningful. And I said, 100% agree with you. The only thing that I require is that it doesn't die after 2 or 3 episodes. As long as I do the show, I want us to reconnect with the importance of how it has affected me. Because I knew that would be the only truthful way to tell it, and she was fully supportive. That's why I remember in some of my research, one of the survivors that had had a similar assault, because we tried being very specific. It wasn't date rape, it was a violent rape in the workplace, very unexpected. It wasn't family, it wasn't someone I'd ever met. Got very specific about my research. And this one woman, Joni Stewart was her name, she had had a very violent attack, and she told me, and we've spoken about this publicly, so I'm not betraying anything, that when she gave birth to her child, that it felt as if she was reliving some of that because her body had not felt pain in that area of her body since her attack. And that was something that had never occurred to me, and I thought that's a wonderful trait to add when Charlotte's pregnant. And they were very supportive of that. So for me personally, acting that scene when I was formally attacked in the show, I still get emotional about it. Because of the statistics, I understood very clearly how many people around the world would see themselves in this moment and be felt and understand what we wanted to achieve. And on the day that we did the attack, the director allowed me to talk to the crew with the other actor performing the attack. And I walked in and I said, listen, you're family to me. We've been doing this for years. If you are uncomfortable, you can leave now. I don't take it personally. If this has affected your life or someone in your life and this is too hard, come back when you're ready. As long as, obviously, the person holding the camera that needed to be there, and there's certain, they call it a skeleton crew, so that it's few people, respectfully, that must be in the room. There were only those people in the room. And I said to them, you guys are not going to be used to seeing me like this. So if after we start to film you need to step out, that's okay too. And you'd be surprised at how many people said thank you for that and took a walk. And that's when I knew we were going to get it right. I felt, when I say get it right, what I mean by that is we were going to all be vulnerable together and make something that we're proud of in a truthful way. Because if you aren't truthful about something that important, you will regret it. And I don't have regrets for that storyline. I'm so grateful that it has been received and felt in people's experience in such deep ways that has allowed people to talk about their attacks for the first time in their lives. And I'll probably never do anything I'm as proud of as that for that reason. I was fortunate. It's a great script. I didn't have to work. It was just all right there. And it's funny, you know, I watch it periodically when someone does reach out. And there's certain things you forget that you do because you almost leave your body. And there's certain things, like I still, when I hear that song that introduces the attack, I can't listen to it without being in a headspace. Well, now that I've had a child, I understand the scene where they go to the hotel and she's brought all the outfits to sort of put a button on that. How they get there and they just want to sleep for a little bit. I understand that a lot more now. At the time I didn't. Paul did. And he said this is very true because he'd had his daughter. And we just had a good time laughing about that. I think they did a beautiful job, and I love that they forced us to learn a new skill and become dancers, because I'd never done anything like that before. Oh, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I mean, first of all, to act with Caterina again would be so fun. I'm very comfortable. I mean, I would be so interested to see, because Shonda spoke publicly a few months ago about how she didn't feel those stories were done. And I know Kate's been on there, and that makes perfect sense. But I would be so interested to see what the interaction would be. So I would be totally game forever. I mean, like I said, the character changed my life in only positive ways. So to see who Charlotte is now would be very interesting. It's amazing. I knew during the pandemic people were seeing it a lot internationally because it had been re-released. But I had no idea how many people truly love the show until now, all these years later, and still really connect with that. I mean, the world has changed quite a bit. But I will say, you know, we did storylines on that, you know, for trans people and things as well that I'm really proud to have been a part of. Before that was common, frankly. To be a part of something that is still so relevant and to see people excited. I mean, it's a love bomb, really, to be in a room with that many people excited. Plus, I get to meet cast members I'd never met before. I knew Jessica, but I didn't know any of the others, so it's really special.